specifically to share with you some research we've been doing. And, I'm going to grab, you've all got, you've sat on them or you've picked them up, something called Talking Jesus. I'm just going to get a little, can I borrow your Talking Jesus one? Thank you. It looks like this. It's blue and it's orange. You might find that helpful because some of the slides might be difficult for you to read, but the slides are also all in here, so you won't get lost, and that's going to help you. This is a journey that we've been on, trying to work out what's happening in the church, if you like, as a whole, and what's happening particularly to people outside the church. I don't know if you've seen any of the stuff on the British Attitudinal Study Survey that came out. We often have headlines of decline, and we have headlines about the church, particularly losing numbers. And we wanted to find out what was happening with the team, if you like, the people who really are and matter and are part of church. And in some of the decline, what we're seeing, a drop in nominalism, just people who tick, I'm Church of England, because that's what they thought they always were. And try to get a little bit of a difference between the two and try to work out what's happening. That was internal. We also wanted to find out if we were a company, we're not a company, but if we were a company, there's some things we'd really love to know. For example, what do people think about Jesus? Jesus is really key and core. So wouldn't it be good to know what the population thought about Jesus? Also, if we were a company, wouldn't it be great to know what our reach was? So if somebody called me in to do this job in another organisation, I'd be like, that's very interesting. How big is my sales team? Well, if you ask that in the church thing, we scratch our heads, we have a look around, we're not too sure. And then I'd be like, well, what's the reach of my sales team? And then I'd be thinking, what's the impact? What do people think about? I never want to call Jesus a product, but the product, what I've got to offer, all of those things are really important if we're going to try and look at the job of evangelism and reaching out. So we thought we'd have a go at trying to find out. So we did some research, and the first bit of research, I did this with partnership with Hope. I don't know if you know about Hope. I work a lot with Hope because it's brilliant. It works across all the denominations and helps us do mission evangelism together, and with the EA. And we did some of this research together. We took it to a brilliant summit with lots of leaders from across all the denominations. It was very exciting. And they looked at the research and they went, oh, we don't believe that. So we scratched our heads. We put a pot round the room. We got some more money and we said, well, we'll do it again. Guess what? When you do research again, what normally happens? You get the same answers. But anyway, this time people believed us, so that was good. So we did it again, we got some more answers. And then we thought this was so interesting that we should have a look at what's happening with our 11 to 18-year-olds. So our first set of research was amongst adults, and our second set of research was amongst young people. And because some of it was so interesting, we looked at this group of people called practicing Christians. We also did a big extra sample of them. And so that's what we're going to try and look at now. And this little booklet that you've got in front of you as well will help you as we go through, because some of the data on the screen may be difficult for you to read, but most of the slides you'll find in your booklet. And the booklet is really a clear way to explain some of the findings that we've found. And everywhere where I've gone with this research, one of the most wonderful things that's happened is that people have gained in confidence about sharing their faith. Because they've gone, well, if that's the case, we could have a go at this, couldn't we? And so that's really the big joy of it. It's a pile of numbers. But when numbers help change people's hearts and give them a new vision, then it's really exciting to look at a pile of numbers. So first of all, what's the size of our team? We think about 7% of the population as a whole are what we might call practicing Christians. That means that they are with us, they're with us at least once a month. Then that one may not be in your book, because I can see you all scouring through it. I've got a funny feeling that my first slide, it's typical, isn't it, is not actually in the book. So we won't look for that one. You're just going to have to follow that one from here. So about 7% of us attend church at least once a month, and we pray or listen to the Bible at least once a week, and we are praying at least once a week. This gives us a slightly more team-like measure. Does that make sense? Because obviously 51% of the population are ticking that they are Christian, but they're not all part of the team. We also had a different measure. We asked about whether people self-defined as active followers of Jesus, and that was actually higher than our practicing, so there's some interest there. And then when you look at the youth, can you see that? We had a real struggle with this figure. 13%. Yeah. I just saw someone go, So we sat on our youth research for a long time, and we didn't publish it because no one believed it. And then, to our amazement, Youth for Christ, another agency, did some research that came out extremely similar to our research. And we began to think, maybe there's something in this story. And we'll explain that a bit later as to what I think is happening and to why that figure is higher than perhaps we thought was happening. And so that's basically the breakdown of who's in the team. So we're actually doing quite well with our young people across, and this is all denominations. So this isn't just the Church of England, this is every denomination together. Because there's something about mission and evangelism that is about all of us together. The task is a common task, it's a common calling. We have a specific part of it, but the task is together. So we looked at it together as a whole. Now, how many people out there in the population know one of us? They know somebody that they would think is an active Christian. Why is this so important? Because that's, if you like, where they learn about faith is with you. That's why it's so important. So how many of them know someone that they would describe as a practicing or active Christian? Have a little think. You could even ask the person next to you. What do you think? How many people in the population know one of us? Okay, so very often when you read the newspapers, I sometimes think there's 3 of us left. We probably live in Portsmouth. We're aged about 85, nothing wrong with that, and we're switching the lights off next week. That's sometimes what I think when I read the newspaper. And nobody really, well, 1 or 2 people down the road know us, but that's kind of what I get the feeling. Well, actually, we're doing a lot better than that. Do you know, 67% of those who aren't Christian know one of us. 67% know one of us. And you know, they know us really, really well. You know them. You are a friend of theirs. They live in your street. They might even be very likely to be one of your family members. You have cornflakes with them on a regular basis. That's how well we're known. Now, if we were a company, we would be ecstatic by this figure. Our reach into the population is enormous. Now, if you look at church leaders, do you know what the reach of the church leaders are in our population? I'll just tell you, it's 1%. Now, that's really important. It's not because church leaders are doing a bad job. They're just very absorbed often in the church. So we can't rely on church leaders to do the job of mission and evangelism. They don't really know very many people who don't know Jesus. It's just how it is. So folks, this one is down to people like you and me. That's why this is so important. Because we know 67% of the population already. We know them. We either stand at the school gate with them, or we work alongside them, or we're in the bowls club with them, or we're at the gym with them, or we're in the pub with them. Wow, we already know the people that we can help come to faith in Jesus. You already know them. So that's it's more than half the task, isn't it? How exciting is that? You already know them. So that makes it a lot easier for us to do this task. else might we need to know? Oh yeah, this is how they know us. They know us mostly as family and friend. When we saw that stat, I was like, this task is not so difficult. They're already, if you've got a phone, they're already in your contacts, people. You can already send them a text. You know, one girl heard some of this, and the next thing she did was text a friend and ask them to church, and the friend said yes. How simple is that? Is that difficult? How easy? I wonder why we hadn't thought of it. So it's so simple because we are their friends and we are their neighbours. And you might go, family members, you might go, yeah, Rachel, that's great. But the thing is, I don't know what they think of us. We do know them. Again, if you read the newspapers, what words do you think people would use to describe us? Have a little chat with the person next to you. What words would they use to describe us? Okay, ready for the moment of truth? These are the words, and some of you may have looked it up in your booklets, because it's page 6 in your booklet. These are the words they use to describe us. We are friendly, caring, good-humoured, and generous. They are our top qualities, people. Does it get any better than that? We're friendly, caring, generous, and I love it. We're good-humoured. This is amazing. We are not, and there is a whole list, we're not narrow-minded, hypocritical, uptight, judgmental. They genuinely don't think of us like that. We get portrayed as that. Yeah, you. We get portrayed as that in the media, or if you've ever watched any television programs, the Christians are always often very cringeworthy. But let me tell you, the people that know you, they love you. They value you. They think you are the person who's in their street, whose door they're most likely to come to in a time of crisis. You're the most likely person to go and take them a cake when somebody moves into a neighbourhood. Of course you are. Look at you. But you know what? The population knows that about you. They know that you are the friendly, caring, good-humoured, and generous people. And you know what? The young people think the same. The 11 to 18-year-olds said the same thing. That is the country telling us what we are like. Maybe we should believe them. Maybe we should believe them. Now, does that not raise your spirits? The whole task is getting easier. This evangelism thing is not as scary. You already know them, and they already like you. Great, that's 2 steps of the job done. So that's just so important. So these are the things we're not. We're not these things, narrow-minded, uptight, hypocritical. They don't think that of us. They genuinely like you. We're their friends. So the other important thing is, what do they know about Jesus? So these people who we know, these people who like us, what do they know about Jesus? Well, about 60% of the adults in the population, they think he was a real historical figure. That means, do you know, about 40% of the population don't even know that Jesus was real. Now, often when I ask people to guess that one, they think that's going to be a lot higher, just on the fact that he lived and walked. Because, you know, many atheists think Jesus was a real person. They might not believe in him, but they think he was real. So that's fascinating, that in a country that, you know, has a Christian heritage, people don't even understand that Jesus was a real person who lived and walked on earth. And the youth is 54% of our young people. I don't know if any of you go into schools and do schools assemblies and schools work. I'm sure a lot of you do. This is a great place to start when you're doing school stuff. We could start with the fact that I think sometimes when we do the stories of Jesus, the word story can be misconstrued. So people think we're telling them something like Lord of the Rings. So they think that Jesus is a bit like Gandalf. And that they don't, it's a lovely kind of fable that we can learn something about life from. But they don't understand he was real. He actually walked on earth. He actually lived here amongst us lot. That really, really happened. And because it really happened, that can transform lives. So when we go in and let's do a story of Jesus, maybe we could talk about the life events of Jesus. These are the life events. These are the real facts of Jesus when he lived and walked on earth. And that might help people ask some more questions about him. Then we asked, can't quite see that one myself. Let's see what the slide is. How people described Jesus, whether he was God in human form. Now, a whopping 21% of adults think that Jesus is God in human form. So that's pretty good, isn't it? Now, they're not all with us regularly, but that means that quite a lot of people have a strong idea of who Jesus is. So we should certainly go and find them. Because there'll be some people in your community who honestly think that Jesus is God, but they never actually come to church. So we could try to find them and work with them. And in youth, that actually came out as 22%. So there's, again, a strong contingent who thought it was God in human form. Look down here at prophet. Now, prophet is a lot larger than the Muslim population in this country. Lot larger. Now, I love prophet. My weeks get a bit blurry. Last Saturday, I sat and chatted to a friend, and she just poured over coffee at me in the morning. In fact, sometimes in tears. And she explained to me why she had difficulty with religion. So I listened and I listened and I listened, and we got through some of that. And eventually I said, "What do you think about Jesus?" And she softened. She just softened, and she said, "I think Jesus is a bit like Gandhi." I'll take that. "He's a bit like Gandhi," she said, "and I think really he wanted us to be kind." I said, "Yeah, that's good, he did. He really loved people and he wanted us to love others." She said, "I can go with that." I was like, great. So when it was religion or churchy, there was this like, whoa. When it was Jesus, literally she softened in front of me and said, "I get." So I was trying to explain why I do the things I do. She's going, so she got that we love people. So I explained really simple. We love people because God loved us. So God loved me, and that's why I love others. And we try to form community and family because God loves community and family. He's the first person who started community and family and gathering people together. That was his design. And that's kind of like where we'd started, and explaining about Jesus. And those things she could get. And it was just really interesting watching her soften in front of me when we moved on to Jesus. And so as a prophet, I can have a really interesting conversation with someone who thinks Jesus is a prophet. So it's not a closed door, it's an open door. Does that make sense? But sometimes when we talk to people, we might assume that they know nothing. It's always good to start with trying to find out what they think. So now I've got more of a clue about what my friend thinks. I know what she thinks about religion, I know what she thinks about church, but I also now know what she thinks about Jesus. And that's super helpful for me as I go on walking with her. Does that make sense? That's why actually looking at this as a whole country is really fascinating. Another question we asked them, which I find absolutely amazing, is we asked people what they thought about the resurrection. Have a guess next to you. How many people believe in the resurrection? Okay, have we got a guess? Has everyone got a guess on the resurrection? Are you ready? About 40, so you have to add up the 26 and the 17. Let me get that right. That's 30. About 43% of adults believe in the resurrection. Is that a bit higher than anyone else thought out there? A bit higher than we thought. And about I've probably got the youth one next. Yeah, and about 37% of our 11 to 18-year-olds believe in the resurrection. Well, I mean, if that's not a jaw-dropper, I don't know what that is jaw-dropping, isn't it? Do you know, the BBC was super helpful because the BBC at this Easter decided that all this resurrection stuff was ridiculous and they would prove that nobody believed in it anymore. So they did a survey. They did a survey on the resurrection, hoping that everyone would say they now believed in reincarnation. And they got the same figures as us. They then never published that because they couldn't have that as a story. They went for something. They went for the number of people who tick Christian who don't believe in the resurrection, and they went with that as their headline. And I went on the radio and did some stuff around that, and I pulled out their figure on population's belief in the resurrection. And this interviewer said to me, he said, "Well, that can't be true." I said, "Yes, but it's your survey." He said, "Is it?" I said, "Yeah, it's in your survey." He said, "Well, it's not my friends." I said, I don't know, you could ask them. But fascinating, they got the same figure, but they didn't want to publish 43% of the English population believe in the resurrection. I think it's a headline. Strangely, they didn't. But that tells you something. Honestly, there are people out there who do believe that Jesus rose from the dead. Now, they might be the people who come. Do you have quite a few people who come at Easter to church? And Christmas? My guess is some of those people really do, if they were asked, I believe in the resurrection. Now, they turn up at Easter to church. We do church. I was talking to one guy. He said, "Yeah, I try to convince people at Easter that Jesus rose from the dead." I'm like, they might have got that far. That's where they turned up. They just might not know what that means for their life. And he looked at me and went, "I'm going home to rewrite my Easter Sunday sermon." Because they've got this, if you like, it's a mental, have you heard of modernity and post-modernity? The big we sort of have these big trends that we think are happening in society. Modernity, kind of much more mental assent, black and white, scientific. So we might have taught people to tick a box, a sort of mental assent. I believe in the resurrection, tick. But haven't understood what that means. Jesus rose from the dead. Would you like to live by that same power? Now, there's an offer. Does that make sense? Well, what does that look like? It looks like doing that with us in a community. Do you want to come and join in? So how do we explain Easter? Or do they come into our doors and go out, quite frankly, a little bit none the wiser? Does that make sense? We could change what we do at Easter. Many of the people who walk through your doors at Easter actually think Jesus rose from the dead. They just have no idea how that might relate to Monday morning. So if we spoke to them in a way that invited them into a community that lives in the power of the resurrection, now that's an invite. And make sure we invite them back. This is a massive figure. Now, it's not very secular to believe in the resurrection. It really isn't a secular thing to believe that somebody got out of the dead and walked. It tells me something about the temperature of society. I was jaw-dropped when I saw this. I was like, that's not supposed to happen, which is why we had to do the stats again. And we asked 3,000 people, because normally a poll is fine at 1,000. But we went on and did 3,000. The BBC did 1,000. We can't keep asking. Does that make sense? Our population is telling us 43% of them, honestly, that's not very secular. That's a really belief, spiritual understanding. They think Jesus rose from the dead. We could go and chat to them, couldn't we? Do you know what? They're going to be amongst the people that, A, we already know and that you drink coffee with, and B, who like us. C, many of them believe in the resurrection. Oh, this task is not as difficult, is it? Do you see? It's not as difficult. It's like the big narratives that get pushed at us from the media. They won't listen. So even when they get this stat, they won't publish it. They won't publish it, so we need to publish it. And we need to know that the person you're talking to, there's a good chance they might even believe in the resurrection. And a lot of people, we asked words, I haven't got that slide, they like Jesus. Jesus comes over as a spiritual leader and a prophet and a person of peace. Well, I can talk, as my friend did a perfect example of. That's where we talk to them. Do you want to know more about this character? He is attractive to them. Does that make sense? He is an attractive person. We're not trying to introduce them to an institution. We're trying to introduce them to a person. So I'm quite excited. This is doable. This is really much more doable than we thought. So then we asked, has the Christian that you know, going back to that population and those people, so 67% of them know one of us, have we ever spoken to them? Has a practicing Christian ever spoken to them about their faith in Jesus? And about 57% of the non-Christians said that they had been spoken to by one of us. That means there's a whopping 41% we've never opened our mouths and said anything to. Could we try to change that? So it's good. We have spoken to 57%. And it gets less amongst the 11 to 18-year-olds. We've spoken to 49%, and 48% we haven't had a conversation with. But 41% of the people who are our friends, who are our family, who think we're friendly, caring, good-humoured, and generous, we've never actually spoken to about our faith. Or could we have a go? Could we have a go at that together? Folks, it's not, you won't die if you do that. I guarantee that. You won't die. But we could have a go. Because remember, you can't rely on the vicar. The vicars don't actually know them. So this is really, and if you are a vicar and you really, you're here, you need to enable all your church. This job is not your job. You can model it, you can't do it. So everyone has to do this together. We have to do this together. We have to dare together to do this. Now, what happens when we have conversations about our faith? So, now, little example here. I just have to explain something to you. Imagine that actually today I've come to sell banana milkshakes. Okay? So I've come to sell banana milkshakes, and I'm going to talk to these wonderful people here, and I am going to try to convince you that banana milkshakes are the thing. Okay, so I talk to you, and I give out my banana milkshakes. I say, will you try a banana milkshake? And you're like, oh, okay. And you two, you absolutely go for it. You're like, banana milkshakes, that is amazing. And you decide to join the banana milkshake club. You even buy the T-shirt. I'm afraid you three, you're just like, oh, I've never liked banana milkshakes, don't like banana milkshakes, still don't like banana milkshakes. That was a bit weird. So you don't join the banana milkshake club. Then I come along with my market research survey. If I give that to these two people, what sort of result will I get about the experience of trying a banana milkshake? Positive or negative? Great. If I come along with my market research questionnaire and I bring it to these three people, what sort of answer will I get? Positive or negative? Great, simple, really so simple. Great, you're with me. Okay, so we asked non-Christians who've had a conversation with a Christian, how did that conversation go? We asked non-Christians who had a conversation with a Christian who chose to remain a non-Christian, how that conversation went. We then asked Christians who remembered being a non-Christian and having a conversation with a Christian and then joining as a Christian, how that conversation went. Does that make sense? Okay, great. You see, to get the whole banana milkshake survey market feedback, I need both of those groups. Yeah? This is a finer point that the newspapers didn't get when they found the Talking Jesus material. So, to get the truth, I need both of those. So the first set of results I'm going to show you is the people who did not, they had a conversation with a Christian, they were a non-Christian, had a conversation with a Christian, they chose to remain a non-Christian. With me? Great. So, I reckon these are in your book as well. Let's have a little look. Yes, they are. So if you want to follow with me, they are on page 10. So how do those conversations go? roughly speaking, 1 in 5 of our adults, after that conversation, wanted to know more. And a lot of people go, oh, this is, remember, the ones who chose to remain a non-Christian. 1 in 5 wanted to know more. Now, do you know what? What would happen if we reached 20% of the population? What would happen if we reached 20% of the population? Anyone? Yeah. Someone's waving enthusiastically. Do you know what? In the next few years, I'd settle for reaching 20%. Would you? Because then that 20%, their lives would be so transformed, I reckon they could impact the next lot. So right now, amongst your friends and your family, who you already know, who think you're friendly, caring, good-humoured and generous, 1 in 5 of them that you have spoken to or someone else has spoken to wants to know more about Jesus. I mean, Jesus. They didn't say anything. They actually said they wanted to know more about Jesus. Would you like to try and find them as a starter for me? I can't do it on my own, folks. I can't do this on my own. I can only find the 1 in 5 of my friends. Would you please find the 1 in 5 of your friends who want to know more about Jesus? Should we start with them? You see, that's a guaranteed win. They actually said they want to know more on a big survey. We've asked twice. We're not going to ask again. Now, 4 out of 5, admittedly, right now, they don't want to know more. We'll pray for them. Did any of you do Thy Kingdom Come? Yep. We prayed for 5 people. This is why we prayed for 5. They were like, what number shall we pick? 5. Pick 5. Pray for 5, reach 1. Got it? Pray for 5, reach 1. Nailed. Job done. I can go home. We are all committed together. We're going to pray for 5 friends. 1 of those 5, not all of them, so don't get disheartened if the first person you speak to goes, whoa, no thank you. You know that's going to happen. Go on and ask the next one. Keep praying for them, because miracles happen. And if we pray for them and try 1 in 5, it's about 1 in 6 for young people, so they've got a harder task, so we need to stand with them. But interestingly enough, it actually goes up for 18 to 35s. Really fascinating. 18 to 35s are the most open group. If you're with me, the millennials, I could have told you that, but I'm telling you it now. So the 18 to 35s are one of the most open groups right now in our population. They are the most open groups. If you want to practice, you could start with them. You'd be thrilled to know we're doing that at church on Sunday. We're all going out on the streets. We're going to pray for people and talk to people. We're surrounded by that age bracket. They swarm around our church at the markets on Sunday. So we thought we've gone out a few times. And it's so much easier than it used to be. I did lots of street stuff when I was younger, and I got a lot more blanks. But when you talk to that age bracket and you go, hello, we're from the church, just want to see if you'd like to come along. They go, oh, yeah, great. Where is it? Yeah, I've walked past that building. Really interesting. Just the openness in that age bracket to have a conversation of faith is extraordinary. So I'm just telling you, there's 1 in 5 of your friends and your family right now want to know more about Jesus. Great. Start with them. And interestingly enough, about 1 in 5 are interested in open and having an experience or an encounter with Jesus. That's quite interesting. Why is that interesting? They're not the same group. So we checked it. There's an overlap. So there's some of them in the middle, about 2/3 are an overlap. So there's even more people who are open than 1 in 5. Does that make sense? But some of them want to have perhaps a head conversation, and some of them want to have an experience. So when we're dealing with people, maybe some of them we could pray for, and others we'll end up in a dialogue with. Does that make sense? Because people are different, and they often come in different ways. So that's really good news. There are some negatives. There's a whole pile of people who currently don't want to know more about Jesus. We'll keep praying. We're not going to push them. We just need to discern who's who after we've had a conversation. But let's find the ones who do. But remember, if you do meet the one who's interested, do you remember the banana milkshakes here? This group here? This is what happens if someone has a conversation and actually they really want to know more. Of course, the positive story is 86% after that conversation wants to know more. Does that make sense? 2 halves of the same story. But it should give us confidence to open our mouths and have a conversation with someone. We asked practicing Christians when we'd last had a conversation. This is a figure we really struggled with. That's why we had to do the research again. But a lot of us have said that we are talking to people. I don't know if you want to have a chat about when you last had a conversation with someone about faith, Jesus, church, in a group, just with a few people next to you, when did you last have the chance to talk to someone? Just briefly. When did that last happen for you? Great. I'm going to draw you back together. Hey, you could carry on having conversations like that over lunch. Now, I have a little theory, and it's just a little theory, and it's not concrete, and I haven't done any research on it. And it goes something like this. You see, we looked at our churches, and we thought, if people were talking to their friends and their family about Jesus, our churches would be full. So we concluded no one was talking. We did this survey. We discovered a lot of people are talking, but maybe it takes an awful lot of those conversations for someone to come all the way through. Does that make sense? So we kind of just concluded nobody was. We kept saying, actually, a lot of you are doing a really good job, and you're looking for those opportunities. This research should help you have more courage and more confidence, and to pray for people more, to offer prayer, to be the first person with a cake when they move in, to carry on being the friendly, caring, generous, good-humoured people, but to recognise that lots of them actually, they want to know about Jesus. So it ups your level of what you can invite them to and how you do that. But we recognise that actually a lot of us have been having conversations. There are some of my friends I've had conversation after coffee with, bits like even my friend on Sunday I was having coffee with her, and you drop that piece in, and then it's a time till you see them again, or it's another moment. So we are journeying. So we asked people how they came to faith, and some people come in a sudden, come to faith in a sudden experience, and some people it takes them a journey over time. But we need all of those things. So we need to recognise that for some people it's just a journey, and we walk with them, and we don't give up, and we keep praying. And the next time we see them, and it goes, if you ever found it goes backwards and forwards. So if a friend, she suddenly quite liked church, so she came a few times. It was amazing, and then suddenly, boom, she didn't want to come anymore. Really praying she comes this Sunday. Pray with me, people. And each time it's a step. But she hasn't made it all the way through. Does that make sense? So we have to journey, and we have to be committed, and we have to keep praying, and we have to keep knocking. We have to keep asking and not give up, because that's what we're called to do. So what we did also was decide it would be a good idea to find out how we came to faith. If we ask lots of people how we came to faith, we might learn how to help other people come to faith. It's kind of just a sensible thing to ask. So this is on page 13, and this is a slide that corresponds with it. What helps people find faith that we discovered? The number one is not really a surprise, which is growing up in a Christian family. Do you know, that was smaller than I thought. It's about 41% of us. And again, for the young people, we're about the same. About 40% of the youth, people who responded in our youth survey, said growing up in a Christian family. Family is so important. How we disciple children in the home. Please, we can't leave this to the people. Do you know how short the time it is that children spend in church? It's tiny. It's tiny. What do we read? Where did I learn to read? Why did I learn that reading the Bible was really important? My mother sat down with us every single day from the moment of my first memories. She sat in the middle. We had two little chairs, my sister and I, and every night before we went to bed, we read from the Bible. From my growing up earliest memory. That's why I love the Bible. Yes, I went to church on Sunday and it matched it, but I learnt it from my mother. That's where I learnt to pray. And I remember just how important that is. I remember my father, we were in a Mother's Day service, and my father put his hand up and said, I'm grateful to my mother, she taught me how to pray. My grandmother was a great prayer. She taught him how to pray. Let's not just teach people how to play the piano. You know, it's playing the piano could be useful. I'm a disaster, even though I had lessons. But learning to pray, that is the best life skill anyone could ever give me. It is the most important thing, is that my parents taught me how to pray. And let us not go in for the complete and utter lie that the secular humanists want us to believe, which is bring up children in a neutral, I like that word, in a neutral environment without God until they're adults and then let them decide. That is not neutral. That is a choice. You can choose to bring children up with a framework that has God. You can choose to bring children up with a framework that doesn't have him. That is a choice. Neither are neutral. That's a lie. It is not objective and subjective. They're both subjective choices, and I know which one I choose. I know which one I choose. But it's a lie that's actually impacted the church. There is nothing neutral about bringing children up without God. It is a choice that we will watch play out generation after generation. So let's help. If you've got parents, if you're a parent, or you've got parents in your churches, we need to equip them. They are the forefront of mission. They are the forefront of mission, and it's daily. And it's daily. So that's so important. Then what helps? I absolutely love this one. So on adults, we discovered that having a conversation with a Christian came in at 36%. Why am I going on and on and on and on and on about having a conversation? Because it's the next most important thing. If you don't have a praying grandmother and a mother who's going to teach you to read your Bible, there's hope. And the hope is you and me. And the hope is that we'll open our mouths and we'll introduce someone to Jesus. If we don't do that, it's not like someone else. We are the best placed person to do this. If you know someone, you're their friend, you are the number one most likely person to help that one person come to faith. Most people came to faith because of a friend. What better offer of friendship is there than to share something that will change their lives forever? That's true friendship. So that's really important. Have a look at what happened to the youth respondents. They've got reading the Bible. I absolutely love it. It's really rather embarrassing because it comes in as well for the next one for reading the Bible, 27% of adults. It's embarrassing that we forgot how powerful the Word of God is. The Word of God on its own can bring people to faith. It comes up time and time and time and time again in people's testimonies. They just got left with like Luke's Gospel. I remember reading that when I was about 13 or 14. I read it in the Good News version, cover to cover, and it impacted my life because I got it. So that's why, if you notice with Thy Kingdom Come, we gave out the Luke's Gospel that we created. If you want some more of those, order them. Give them out to a friend. Tell them personally, get the friend thing in there, not sort of randomly, but tell them, this is who I base my life on. Would you do me the honour of reading about the person who has framed the whole of my life? Now, if someone asked me that about any leader, philosopher or teacher, and I was their friend, I would read that book to understand them. Would you? Great. So will your friends. Take courage. I base my whole of life on this person. Will you read about his life and events in history? Let me know what you think. It's not so difficult. And so, reading the Bible comes in really high. Do you know, these are not that scary or difficult, are they? That's not that difficult to do, to have a gospel in your handbag or in your top pocket and to give it to somebody. Does anybody here do anything with church services? Anything at all? Anybody got anything to do with church services? Great, that's good. I'd just like to say you've got a number one tool for mission and evangelism. It's called a church service. It comes out as 18% of the youth respondents and 28% of the adults. Now you're thinking, that's mad, Rachel. We need to do something really weird and revolutionary. No, we don't. Just friend-proof what you've got. It's really simple. Ask your congregation, would you have the courage and confidence to ask somebody to what we do as church? And if they go, oh no, I couldn't do that, ask them why. Well, the coffee's dreadful. The loos don't work. It's at the wrong time, in the wrong place, and the music. I don't know what they'll answer you. Or ask yourself, do you have the confidence to bring your friend to your church? If not, change it. If not, change it. It's not set in stone. I know it looks like it's set in stone. You're like, Rachel, you haven't met our PCC. Look, for the sake of reaching your friends in the most simple way possible, which is come and see what I do, this is how I worship, this is how I follow God, come with me. And I tell you, it's so much easier for me to bring a friend to my church than it is to bring them to an event, because an event is awkward. So you bring non-Christians to an event about finding Jesus, it's all targeted at them and they feel a bit awkward. Bring them to church and they stare in absolute amazement that all these people are taking God seriously. It's amazing. In all traditions, I've heard of people walking in and just feeling the presence of God when his people worship. That's not down to one tradition, all tradition, because when God's people get together and worship, he's in the house. He can do things. You know, we've had people just crying. Had someone come down the front church going, what is happening to me? Oh, well, that's God. Well, I've never felt anything like this before. That's just God. He's meeting with you. Let me explain that. Can I pray for you? And then she's like, I'm going back to Germany tomorrow. Can I find a church like this? Yeah, I'll find you one. I'll have a go. Give me your email address. But church. People meet Jesus in church. You do. Why can't they? Really simple. Friend-proof church. It's a great tool for evangelism. And you know what? Your friend-proofing church might end up like a Fresh Expression. Because if you discover it's sort of the wrong time in the wrong place, with the wrong coffee and the wrong music and the wrong venue, guess what? That's how Lucy Moore started Messy Church. She said to people, what sort of church would you come to? Well, we can't come at 11 o'clock. Oh, well, never mind. That's it then. You can't find Jesus. She didn't say that. She said, what time can you come? 4. Great. We'll do church at 4. What else might stop you? I can't make my children sit still. Okay, then. We won't do that. Children won't have to sit still. What, really? Yes. And it would really help us if we could have some food afterwards. Okay, I think the ladies can do sausage rolls. Any good? Great. Super. We've got sausage rolls. I mean, it's not rocket science, is it? Ask. There's a lot of people who want to join us. So we're just on at the wrong time in the wrong place doing the wrong thing. But other than that... So you might end up creating a Fresh Expression. Or, if they're like you, your church will probably really suit them. If they're of your culture, what you do and what you love is more likely they're going to love it too. Does that make sense? Because if they're like you, they'll love your tradition of music. So have the courage, ask them along. So if you look at they're not rocket science, they're not jaw-breaking, they're not that staggeringly difficult to do. And this is how most people meet Jesus. I haven't got very long. I'm going to show you one slide. So there's a whole pile of slides. Just shut your eyes for 2 minutes whilst I flick through. We did another whole survey. I'll do this in the seminar because I can't do it all now, but it's something I want to show you that's really important. And we're just going through, and that's the one I want. The age at which practicing Christians come to faith. Have a little look at that. Anybody do anything with 0 to 4s in this room? Pop your hands up. 0 to 4s, parent and toddlers, 0 to 4s, anything. I just want to say, you are at the forefront of evangelism and mission in this country, and we need to resource you. We need to believe in you. We need to pray for you. Every toddler that comes through the door, guess what they're attached to? A carer or a parent. Fantastic. When I saw that data come up, my jaw dropped. I don't know why we haven't done it before. 0 to 4s. Most of us are deciding for Jesus between the age of 0 and 4. Can you, if you don't run a parent and toddler group, start one for me? Let's just do that across the nation, and we could turn this around, folks, by that one move. Because also if they've had an experience of Jesus between the age of... And don't just give them tea and coffee. There's another piece of research, I haven't got time for it. When they come to a church for a toddler group, even atheist parents want their children to have something of God and Jesus. That's why they turned up. So don't be afraid. Don't be ashamed. Be distinctive. You follow Jesus. They've come because they want to know more about him. They want their children to grow up with an element of faith. So I haven't got time to unpack all of those slides. We'll do a bit more of that in the workshop. But I wanted to end with that one. I want to tell you something. This is not an impossible task. Remember, you already know the people you could reach. They like you. A lot of them already believe in the resurrection. That's got to be good. We just need to open our mouths and invite them. We need to friend-proof church. That's not that difficult. We can do this. There are people out there right now. 1 in 5 of your friends, that's of adult age bracket, want to know more about Jesus. With me, will you do that? Pray for 5, reach 1. Thank you.